Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Marvel Crisis Protocol character reveal. Today, they have shown off Electro, and I was really excited for this one, and for the most part, he doesn't disappoint. So, first of all, of course, in the panel to play here, we have a nice little image of the model here, and it does look really good. I'm looking forward to picking this guy up and painting him up myself. Lots of yellow, so I'm not excited to paint all of that because that's always a tedious color to paint, but it is a really good looking model. So go through his backstory and things like that here. I can't really find anything that hints towards any affiliation that isn't Spider Foes. I could see something like Criminal Syndicate maybe as well, but for now I'm just going to assume just Spider Foes. But then we get to the part that most people I think care about, and that is Electro's stat card. So Electro is coming in as a 3-4-3 defensive line with 6 stamina, and he is confirmed now to be a 4 threat. I know there's been lots of talk about him possibly being a 5 or even a 6 because he is very powerful, but they did decide to make him a 4 threat, which is a tiny bit disappointing, but they did make him really interesting, so I think it's okay because they kind of balanced that out. So he's a size 2, and he's a slow mover, but make no mistake, this man will be zapping his way around the battlefield. So he's got 2 attacks here. His first one is Electric Discharge. This is a range 4 5 dice energy attack. After the attack's result, he's going to gain power equal to the damage dealt, so it's just a regular builder here. And it's got a Wild Shock, which I would hope he has some way of handing those out, so that makes sense to me. Next, he has Overloading the Grid. I think this is a really interesting attack. So it's a range 3, 4 cost, 6 dice energy superpower, or attack rather. When creating the dice pool for this attack, you may destroy a terrain feature of size 3 or less within range 3 of this character. If you do, add dice to the attack roll equal to the destroyed terrain feature's size. So this can quite easily be a 9 dice attack, this could be a 7 dice attack, or this could be a 8 dice attack. So yeah, I think that's a really neat way of kind of doing terrain destruction, and it's not a terrain throw, but it adds dice. So that's a cool kind of mechanic that I don't think we've seen much of that. Like it's basically smash for a single attack that you don't pay extra for other than the cost of the attack, which is kind of cool. I think it's a neat ability to have. Next, he has Ride the Wires, and this ability is kind of insane. So it costs 2, it's active, and it says choose a terrain feature of size 2 or greater. I definitely misread this on my first run through and read this as size 2 or less, as most things are templated, but no, it's size 2 or greater, so almost any terrain piece on the board. This includes size 5, whatever, within range 3 of this character. This character drops all objective tokens it is holding, then is placed within range 2 of the chosen terrain feature. This superpower can only be used once per turn. So you can get some crazy mobility depending on the board you're playing on. If you have like those Fisk construction buildings that are super long, those size 4s, you can zap from range 3 of one end of it to range 2 of the other, which is absurd. That's so much movement. But you do have to drop all of your objectives on the way. So if you want him zipping around the board like that, you're not going to be having him holding objectives for most of the time. So I think that's a solid drawback to have on an ability like that. And because he is a slow mover and it costs 2 power, outside of things like advanced R&D, he's not really getting all that far round 1. Unless you can move and get an attack on someone and then do it. But still, I think that's a really interesting and powerful mobility effect that I'll be curious to see how it kind of plays out, and how looking at the board and what kind of terrain is on it might be kind of the determining factor in whether or not you want to bring Electro, because now this is 2 things where he really cares about having terrain in specific shapes and sizes. So that's really interesting for him, I think. Next, he has Live Wire. This is a reactive superpower. It's a 2 cost. When an enemy character ends a movement within range 3 of this character may use this superpower. Roll 4 dice. The enemy character suffers 1 damage for each crit and hit rolled. I think that's really good as far as Trap House effects go. It doesn't have the usual Trap House thing of it lets him walk away or anything like that, but being crits and hits means it's a lot more likely to do more than one damage than the crits or wilds that you usually see on these types of effects. So it's pretty good for that. I think it's gonna be one of the more consistent trap house effects, which is really, really nice. And I think if you're building a trap house list, he's definitely gonna be strongly worth considering for that. He also has Electrostatic here, and I really like this one as well. This is a one cost reactive. After an attack targeting this character is resolved, it may use this superpower. If the attacking character is within range 3, it suffers 1 damage and gains the shock special condition. So if you're going to punch him within range 3, you better hope you take him down, because otherwise you're taking damage and you're getting shocked, which I think is a really solid piece of defensive tech on his otherwise fairly mediocre defensive line. With no other real, like, there's no rerolls, there's no reduction or anything like that. So I think between Livewire and Electrostatic, he's giving you some good deterrence. Obviously, you're going to have to be careful for those range 4 specifically physical or mystic attackers, which can really do a lot of damage to him. Next, he does have flight, which isn't super meaningful because he's a small mover anyways, but definitely may come up on occasion. If anything, I actually think it'll make him worse against a lot of lightning-based attacks, which I think is kind of funny, but not really a big deal because he's also immune to shock. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, this is a really solid kit. They did show the backside of his card as well here, and as far as I'm aware, giving it a quick skim here, doesn't look like anything changes. If I'm wrong, do let me know down below, but I believe he is the exact same on the front as he is on the back. And then they just kind of talk about his different abilities here. They specifically make reference in here somewhere to him fighting Spider-Man, but other than that, I'm not really seeing any hints at any other places he might be affiliated. So for now, I think we're left guessing, but he looks really, really interesting. He's got some cool abilities. He's got some cool mechanics that they haven't really done much with before. I think Electrostatic is a really neat ability. It's going to be a lot of fun to use. It's going to create a lot of questions of when do you want to attack this man, when do you not. I think Ride the Wires is an insane mobility effect that is probably totally fine because it makes him drop his objective. And it's very board dependent. Some boards that's going to be incredible, and some boards are going to be like, well, all of the big terrain pieces are like they're tall, but they're not really long or anything like that. So I think there's going to be some games where that's insane, some games where that's really good. I think there's going to be few cases where it's kind of meh, but for the most part, it's going to be really, really nice. And it's a unique movement ability, so I'm very down for that. Similarly, I think Overload the Grid is a really cool attack. I don't know if it's necessarily great, but it's really neat. So I certainly like it for that. Overall, I actually think I'm really, really happy with Electro. I think he looks really cool. He's not going to be in every game piece. I don't think he's definitely going to be one of those ones where you're going to look at the board and kind of be like, okay, I think he'll be good for this. You'll also be looking at the scenario. I think he's going to be really obnoxious to kind of hold down a zone of the board because if they want to try to deal with him, they've got to get with, if they want to get his point, they have to get within 3. So they're going to be taking the shock condition and damage for that, and you'll be able to use live wire, and that can start to add up really, really quickly, especially since, like, I don't think he's incredibly hard hitting unless you're using Overload the Grid a lot, but he does hit reasonably well. I mean, 5 dice energy with a wild shock is nothing to scoff at. So I think he's got a lot of good things going for him here. He's going to be a really solid piece on the right maps and the right scenarios. And yeah, I think they did a good job here. I do wish we'd kind of seen him as a 5 or a 6 threat, partially because the Spider Foes really need more 4 threats, but also just because I do think it would work for Electro to be higher threat level. But because they decided to go the route of a 4 threat, I do think they did him justice with the abilities that they gave him. I think he's really, really solid, and jury's still out on whether or not maybe he'll end up being too good. That's definitely something that we'll have to see him on the table more to say for sure. Currently, I'm leaning towards no. I think he's going to be totally fine, but he's definitely going to be a model that seems like he'll be a lot of fun to play, and I think he'll be reasonably solid. You just got to be kind of careful, know where his strengths and weaknesses are, and kind of play to those, and make sure you're selecting him in the games where he's going to get to take advantage of that. But I think they did a solid job here. So let me know what you guys think down below. Are you happy about him? Are you disappointed? Do you think he's too strong? Do you think he's too weak? Love to hear what you guys think. Where do you think he might do well if you know, let's assume he's only affiliated Spider-Foes for now, but where do you think he might do well outside of there? You know, I think he'll definitely be solid under foes, but I think there's potential for him to be really interesting in some other places as well. So definitely be curious to hear what you guys think in regards to that. But that is going to do it for my portion of this video. So hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you guys are excited for Electro. At this point now, we've seen all of the characters coming in the Spider-Foes box. We're just waiting for some of the tactic cards to get revealed now, which hopefully will come when they start show off. You know, they do panel plays on the ones that we've already seen, like Vulture or Shocker. Hopefully we'll get to see some tactics cards with them. Really excited to see what Spider-Foes are getting inside this box outside of the models. So yeah, I'm definitely excited. If you guys enjoyed, please do drop a like down below. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. We do reveals like these whenever new characters are revealed. And we also do battle reports, character spotlights, things like that. So if you're a fan of any of those sorts of things, feel free to jump on in. But that's going to do it for this character reveal. So until next time, have a great day, everybody. Peace.